Okay, we're going to do some sewing today. Hey Mello, how are you? Mel? I'm good today. I've done a lot of sewing on the dolls, so I've basically got all their vests done. Doing the male lion, that's the last vest I need to do. So yeah, this one's the male. And then I can start like putting all the leg pieces on. Probably I've sewn up the flippers for the leopard seal as well, so they're ready to sew on. That doll's almost finished. Hey TikTok, how are we going? So I really just have to sew the flippers on, do like the Mickey fabric on the head, and then airbrush it, and it's done. Ready to go to the customer. If I put something there that I can actually see the writing. All right. So I've sewn the vests on the 3 cats as well. I bought a whole lot of new fur for more cat dolls, because why not? I bought enough fur to make it Abyssinian as well, so hopefully it's the right colour. You're doing good? Thanks for asking. Yeah, I reckon we're like 70% done on these dolls now. But yeah, obviously I'm going to have to airbrush the lions because they're white. Obviously, they're like a cream colour. But I'm going to airbrush all of this. The mane that I got for this lion, I've got the fabric. It's called Mongolian faux fur, so it's clumpy. But if you brush it out, it's you can get it straight, and it'll look. I'm hoping it'll look good for a lion's mane. So that's good. It's all coming together. The sewing's probably like the most time-consuming bit. So basically, I'm going to sew all the way like a zip down here. Kind of looks like an autopsy. But yeah. But as usual, we get knots, because why not? Always happens. So I'm using a lattice stitch to sew this up. And that basically like kind of curls the fabric over on itself. And then I also sort of stitch it closed every now and again, just so if the thread breaks, like all that work isn't undone and like unravels. But yeah. See, already got a knot. It's always a knot that happens. And I don't even know, I couldn't even achieve this knot even if I tried. I don't even know how this happens. But it does. So the hand sewing is like my least favorite bit. Like I really don't actually like sewing, unfortunately. I wonder how it would look colored. Oh, well, I do actually want to do a white lion. So I'm going to do like the colored big cats, the ones that I haven't done, in the next sort of round. So I want to do a golden tiger. And I was thinking of doing a white lion, but I didn't want to do too many lions all at once either. But maybe I'll just do, one big cat this time rather than 2, which will be the golden tiger. So yeah, I will definitely do a white lion eventually, 100%. They got nice blue eyes. So I'd have to get a different color of this fabric because this one's kind of cream and it's not quite white enough. So yeah, we'll try it again. with a different colour. It's a good length though. And I need to try and match it with the fur that I'd use for the mane as well. But yeah, I might even do cubs. I don't know. Big cat cubs. Maybe I should focus on something else. I should do a wolf in the next batch. You have a question. Do you fold the fabric and then sew it, or just sew it as you go? So the ladder stitch sort of curls the raw side when you stitch it. It sort of curls it on itself, so it's like a invisible seam line basically. And the thread that I use is the Gutermann thread. Hang on, I've got a package at the door. I'll be right back. Okay, so sorry about that. I had a package at the door. Anyway, I was saying, so I'm using the Gutermann thread. It's a polyester thread. I wouldn't recommend cotton because cotton snaps really, really easily. Where's the cotton one? So I'd say the cotton, I don't know where it is. I've shoved it out of my life because it keeps snapping. It's a cotton one. I don't know where it is. Yeah, it's a cotton thread, and it's just you need to have like a bit of tension with this stitch. And the cotton one, yeah, tends to snap a lot, as well as like cheap thread. So yeah, would not recommend. Just scrolling past. A dead cat. No. Not yet. Nah. It's on fake taxidermy. This one's a lion. So I do like yeah, fake taxidermy pieces. They're called art dolls. But yeah, this one is going to be a male lion, so I'm just doing the fur part. So I don't use any animal products either. So it's all fake fur, polymer clay, polyfill, which is like a cushion stuffing, and it's got an armature in it, so it did get me. This one's not even finished. This one's not even finished. I've got 7 on the go at the moment, so check back when they're finished. Yeah, so I got 7. 3 cats, 2 lions, a Gila monster, and a leopard seal. So there's a look. Thanks for the info. That's okay. Feel free to ask any questions. But yeah. Someone asked me to make a Discord if I had a Discord. I don't even know what you do with a Discord. Thanks so much for the likes. I wouldn't even know what to put on there. I'm too old. I'm out of touch. Do you have any tips for people who want to sew but are new to it? If you're doing sewing for like dolls like this, just learn how to do a ladder stitch. It's really easy. There's heaps of like videos around. I've got one on my channel, but it's pretty old, but I think you get the idea, basically. Don't use cheap threads. They snap so much. Ow. And I don't really like using thimbles. I find them annoying. But yeah, sometimes you can get blisters if you sew a lot. But I just usually get like I don't know if you call them Band-Aids, but I get like a material. I don't know if you call them Band-Aids wherever you are, but it's like a material one, and I just cut like a little section off, and it's usually this one that I get a blister on, so I just put it there, and it stopped like that pressure, but like I kind of got a callus there because of the needle. I don't particularly like using small needles for fur. So I've got like quite a big one with a big eye in it, but that's just, you know, the bigger the needle, the bigger the hole is going to be. But because it's fur, it doesn't really matter. But if you do things like, you know, cotton fabric, it will leave like a little hole in it. So I could sort of think of. I really don't use any other stitch than a ladder stitch, so I wouldn't worry too much about learning other stitches. Thank you for the likes. Much appreciated. So I don't know how this fur is going to go. When I apply it to the face, I reckon I'm going to have to leave. Normally I remove the backing. But it's such, I don't think it's going to clump together very nicely. So I might have to just leave it on and sort of work around that. We will see. We will see. Okay, so, and I always, another tip is I always sort of lock in my stitches as I'm going, especially with a ladder stitch. Just so the seams stay tight, and if your thread snaps, you can just sort of go back to where you've sewn it off, locked it in place. So I've learned that many times. Learned that many times, paid the price. And yeah, don't use cotton. Don't get cotton. If you can, find some upholstery thread that's really, really thick, and like you can pull and yank it as much as you can, and it's like almost impossible to snap. I've got some, it's really, really thick. I don't know, it's not going to pick up on camera, but it's really thick upholstery thread. And I use this one if I'm doing like wings. I'll use this one because I can sort of pull it super tight, and yeah, it won't snap. So if I do like a flying fox or something, or a bat of some sort, dragon, something like that with wings, because I sew like the fabric body onto the wings when I do it. So that's always helpful to have a really thick thread. All right, get a pin out. I've sort of got to join these two bits here. And I always lock this in place too. It's sort of like a pivotal point where a lot of, it can open. So I always like to just make sure this is nice and secure, proper. So for the mane, I'm just going to sew it over the top of what's already here on the neck. So generally, if I do like little patches or something, I'll just sew it over the top of what's already there, so I don't need to like trim it or anything. And it's sort of a bit neater than gluing as well. I don't really like gluing my bits together. It doesn't feel nice, if that makes sense. Because you can sort of feel the glue, and it goes like a little hard when it dries. So I don't particularly like gluing my pieces. I know some people use hot glue, and it's just a bit messy, and hot glue just doesn't last either. It's got like a lifespan on it. So I personally don't really like using hot glue. It's turning out amazing. Oh, thank you. So I could actually get some of the fur for the mane and just start combing it out. Probably should actually sew the legs on first, because I'm going to do quite a heavy mane on this lion, not like a thin version, and it's going to be a nice spectacular mane. So they've got like a little tuft of the mane down here. So I'll probably sew a little bit on there too. Be a nice big mane. Okay. So now we get to this sort of T shape here. So I've done like this T shape to sew it up. And I like to sort of just quickly comb out any loose, any pile that's sort of flattened where I've sewn it, because that does happen. Probably don't need to do it too much here because I'm going to cover this with the mane anyway. And then I'm going to get this and push it back through. Push it back through here and just start another stitch here. So I just basically start again and just tie it off. I probably should start recording some of this, right, for the videos. And then, yeah, I can just probably just start securing this a little bit as well. So hold that tight, and I'm going to just tie that off as well. Nice and secure. Take the pin out. Okay, and then, so I'm trying to keep it, you know, as best as possible. Now this fur is quite short, which makes it a little bit easier to sew. So there's like, you can see what you're doing. There's less likely that the pile, which is the length, the fluffy stuff, is going to get stuck in the thread. With the longer fur and like a particular texture of the fur, they tend to get stuck, you know, in amongst the thread and create a knot, and it's just really frustrating. This is why I hate knots. I hate knots and untangling. It drives me nuts. I hate untangling Christmas lights, especially. It drives me nuts. If it's okay, when you're selling your artwork, how do you know what's a proper price? I probably don't price it properly. I think I undercut myself, to be honest. But basically what you would do is set a minimum wage. Hey, Blue Fox, set a minimum wage that you want. So, you know, $20, $30 an hour, times it by how many hours you put into it. And that's basically, and obviously the cost of materials. And that's basically the price you get. So I think my prices basically come to $23 an hour, which is like, I think that's actually less than minimum wage here. And then, you know, cost of materials for a doll like this is, you know, anywhere between $100 to $200, depending on obviously the materials and whatnot. As fur is really expensive. Thanks for all the likes. What kind of animal? This one's going to be a male lion. But yeah, fur is really expensive. The polymer clay is just getting more and more expensive, which is, you know, as with everything, right? The armature, expensive. Again, polyfill, pretty cheap. I get a 1 kilo bag, and that's 20 bucks or something, and I probably get, you know, like 8 dolls out of it. Getting nuded. Well, I mean, technically it will be nuded because I'm not adding balls to this one. I can, if requested. I was going to reel it in this one. Is the plastic armature cheaper than wire? No, it's a lot more expensive than wire. The armature, I wouldn't even know what I'll calculate it as. This is why I don't price myself properly, because I can't be bothered calculating. I don't want to calculate every penny. You you know. I'm not, you know. But, you know, the more expensive your dolls are, the harder they are to sell, and then they sit around for X amount of time, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it's just really what you're happy with. And, you know, I guess don't worry about what other people say, because you will get lots of people that say $50. We got to do the math. I know. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to do the math. I just want to make dolls. But look, I'm pretty sure my prices are covered. But yeah, it's pretty. I think it's less than minimum wage, than what Australian minimum wage is. But you know, I like doing this stuff, and you know, got to do something. Keep your sanity. Hey Jessie, how are you? Where is this pin? There we go. Got to scrounge around to see if we've got the pins. All right, so we're at this little T section. So I'm going to finish sewing up this little bit here, and then we're at the T section to attach the other bits. Little chameleon. You're good. That's good. I'm good too. Doing the thing I love most, sewing. Hand sewing. I'll actually probably... I guess seeing this is on the table, I could probably pin all the leg pieces together on this one. And then maybe do the flippers on the C-line. I mean, leopard seal. Just started seeing your stuff the other day. Didn't realise you were an Aussie. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people. Story of my life. Hi, Kiwi. Me, Kiwi? No. I don't say fosh and chops. No, I'm an Aussie. I'm from Melbourne. Yep. You are literally one of my resources for... Oh, thank you. I try. I mean, the videos don't get pushed out very, very well, but, you know, I wish they did. When thread forms a knot, how do you get it out? Do you add thread if you start to run out? Yeah, if I get a knot, I try to get it out. Oh, it's Kiwi. Okay. Okay, I gotcha. I try and get it out, but if it's like too far gone, you can either sort of just try and tie it off and start again. Or what I've been doing is sort of tying it off where the knot is and then sort of going back over that little section so it doesn't undo or unwind, basically. So, but yeah, I mean, there's options, but generally I try to get it out, but it can snap sometimes. But, you know, these things happen. You love the chunky line, Tummy. Actually, the female one's a bit chunkier. I'll probably add a little bit more to this once I sew this little torso piece up. So I want to sort of accentuate the shoulder blades a little bit. Not too much because the main's going to cover it anyway. All right, so we're going to attach these sides together. So I like to pull these quite tight and just tie it together. So I'll tie it off while I'm keeping some tension on the thread. Just so the seam doesn't sort of loosen. I got my pin out. But this is going to be a pretty heavy line, heavy looking line, hopefully. All right. But yeah, I can tell this fur is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to work with. when it comes to adding the faux fur to the head and the feet. The feet probably not so much, but we'll just see how we go. There's like certain faux furs that are really hard to work with that I seem to keep using, but it's just so nice and soft. But yeah, they're really hard to work with. So both the leopards that I did, that particular faux fur was really difficult to work with. But I just needed to use it, you know. So yeah, right. So this one section, I'll trim all this off, this little excess, once it's all sewn up. Again, so just measure it up there. Probably trim that a little bit. So it's starting to sort of pull a little bit on this edge. So probably going to sit about here. Just sew this together. You love the chameleon just hanging out. I'm trying to use it as like an example, you know. Emotional support. Just here for the high. Hey guys, just an example. You know, it's always questionable when people come in and see this. You know, who knows? Emotional support. Emotional support chameleon. I usually try and have like some kind of example there, you know. And this one took like 36 hours too, like 35 hours or something to do. So why not? Why not show it? You know, the weird thing is, the last week, 2 people have tried to like pretend to buy it. I don't know what, and then I don't know. I don't know. They like tried to pretend. I'm like, no, nothing's come through. And they're like, yeah, we'll try again. Like, mate, I've seen every trick in the book so far. Not happening. Once, when I first started, someone tried to do a chargeback, but I had like all the paperwork and stuff. And they obviously lost. So I got my money back, and they had to pay like all the PayPal fees when they tried to do a chargeback. But yeah, like I had the paperwork that had been sent and obviously the tracking and stuff. But that was like when I first started. So I was like, oh, I don't like this. So always cover, have a tracking, always track your progress and have the evidence. The audacity, that's right. It was a commission piece too, and it was like one of my first commission pieces, and it was off DeviantArt actually. Cheeky bugger. I don't know, I think it was just like a young person, and they've obviously had done it a few times, but yeah, this time didn't work. But other than that, generally people are pretty good. There was like that one. A gallery that I exhibited at, 3 dolls, which they sold and kept the money. They scammed me and like heaps of other artists as well. So we never got our money, and they sold 3 of my dolls. So that was like, you know, my first gallery thing. It was like so many artists that got scammed as well. So they ended up filing for bankruptcy. So they didn't have to pay any of their debts. Yeah. And like a couple of us artists, you know, sort of spoke to each other because they had an exhibition that my work was at, and, you know, they were pretty devastated too. And, you know, he opened up a business in his wife's name for doing like art framing. So he's still running a business, which is illegal. But, you know, here we are. What do you do? Yeah. Oh, these things happen, you know. The other artists had, you know, pieces that were way more expensive than mine and probably took longer than mine. And the funny thing is, I know where like 2 of those pieces went. Like the people, they're like regular customers. So, you know, it's not very nice for them knowing, you know, that I never got paid for it. But that's fine. These things happen. All right. Sew up the crotch area. I'll give this a bit of a trim. And then I guess we can either do some work on the legs or we can Hakuna Matata. How fitting. That's right. Maybe I should make a warthog and a meerkat. The sculpt on the chameleon or the lion? You know, right? I know, right? I know, right? People are nuts. But that's pretty much the only 2 things that I can think of that I've had trouble with. And, you know, I've been doing this for 13 years. I stopped using Etsy I used to do a lot of things on Etsy, but I stopped using Etsy for like multiple reasons. And one of their policies is, you know, they're taking the customer's side. So they can like go into your bank account and take your money if, you know, if there's like a dispute or something. You know, it's just really, and their fees are just out of control now. You've always had trouble with Super Sculpey? Oh, you went 3D. I thought about 3D printing, but I like sculpting. Now, there's a lot of things that I would look pretty good with my art dolls to 3D print them, but I like sculpting. All right, so I sort of mangle the armature a little bit while I'm sewing this. So when I sew the legs here, sometimes you can get a little bit of tension here and it pulls the neck piece down a little bit. So I just cut a little bit of just release that a little bit so I can sort of pose it a little bit. Okay, so the mane is going to go on here, but yeah, like I said, I'll have to sew it up a little bit. Sometimes it goes out of place. He's drunk. I just sort of, because I mangle it a little bit too much while I'm sewing. Yeah, like, so you sort of just have to play around with it. So it's where the ball and socket ones, because they have like individual little joints, so each joint will move. So you just have to sort of play around with it and get it back into the position that you want. I'm going to add a little more polyfill. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit more just to have a little bit more definition on top of here. I plan to use Etsy. Yeah, I know what you mean. You know, I started, but their fees are just insane, and they just like totally take the customer's side no matter what, which, you know, that was sealed the deal for me. And if you don't offer free shipping, they penalize your view, so you get pushed all the way in the back of the search results, which, you know. Is that a 1/4? No, this is the smallest one, so I think it's 1/8, I think. So the 1/4 is this size here, so it's a bit bigger. And then you've also got 3/8, the 3/8 size. So they're the 3 sizes. This is something, I don't know what I did with it. I fashioned it up, and I'll have to, you know, pick all that off. But they're the 3 sizes. Okay. So I think I'll just leave it on there because it's not really doing anything anyway. Now, trying to in 2 minds about adding a bit more down there. Just add a teeny bit more. So I use like a wooden tool. I don't use anything sharp because you have a chance of piercing through the fur or the thread. So I don't use sharp things if I'm going to put some more polyfill in. I mean, if you can't reach it with your fingers. I think, well, that's why I'm trying to bring it to life again. Trying to bring life back into it. Don't judge me. Yeah, I used to have a like a swing tag thing, and I thought about doing like a stamp sort of thing, maybe at like the bottom, but like I, at the same time, don't want to. I don't want to, like, I wouldn't say ruin it, but I just didn't want to put. It's not realistic, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's a bit silly, but all right. I think that's looking okay. After I've tried to get it back to a good size. See, I've just added like a little bit of a ridge here, and then the main's going to go there. So I think that's looking good. You always wanted to put a plastic heart on my creature's butt, like a Care Bear. Yeah. I ran out of those little tags that I used to put on for some reason. I never did it again. Okay. So this is the brown that I'm probably going to use. I'll have to just get a little bit off camera. So I'm going to comb this out. So it comes, see how it's all clumpy? But like if you comb it, it sort of goes a bit straight and it looks quite good as a lion's mane. So I'll have to, cut a piece off and see how it combs out, and it's nice and sort of semi-fluffy, but I think it's just going to work really nicely as a lion's mane. Hey, Pooty Cat. So I think, yeah, this is like a really big piece, but anyway. And I've got like a slightly, like more of a tan color as well, so I could do the tan around the face. All right, so let's just go ahead and start pinning some legs. This is a piece. So when I'm pinning the legs, I need to follow the direction of the fur. So the pile, usually I do it off to the side, but I can do it downwards as well. So this is just like a little offcut that I've got. Okay. For long faux fur fabric like the mane, any tips to make it soft or untangle? I guess just comb it. Comb it as best you can. If it's got like the texture, like, I mean, you could try washing it. Sometimes that works. Oh, sorry, I missed your gift. Thank you so much. Thank you for the awesome and the heart. Oh. You could try wash it and, dry it outside, but sometimes washing makes it go stiff as well. How long do I plan? I'll probably jump off at about 2. It's when the child wakes up from their nap. So that's when life calls. Okay, so sometimes this might not be big enough either. We'll see. I might be pushing it with this piece. We'll see. If it's, I'm just going, I'll just unstitch it and then get another piece. What has happened to this? Sometimes I wonder how that bends. Anyway. Okay. So I don't think it's quite going to reach over here, and I don't want to make it too tight. So I'm just going to have to get another piece. And I'll just use this for probably the head and stuff. So I'm going to keep this over here. Slightly different. You really like my cheetahs? Yeah, I like cheetahs too. I like the way they turned out. I'm pretty happy with them. Okay, so we've got the faux fur here. Just move that a little bit. All right, now we just take notice of the pile. So it's going down. Down. So we want I'm confusing myself. This way. We want it to go this way. So I'm going to turn this that way. Okay. I have to move this one for a minute. So basically, we curl it. Got enough leeway up there. So I'm going to cut about here. Like so. Sorry, I missed your messages. Thank you for the likes. How do you create your own website? So you can just create an account with. So I use Wix, but I want to change because I don't like them. So I was thinking about either doing Shopify or Squarespace. But they basically have like a really easy website builder. So, you know, they give you like a template to just, you know, edit and everything. So it's pretty easy. You don't need to know like any codes or anything. Oh God. I got another restriction. And I bet you any money it was because I said Shopify or Squarespace. Click. Anyway, that's what you get for mentioning. All right, so. But yeah, they've got a pretty easy website builder. But yeah, I need to, and I just get the time and change platforms, I think, which is really annoying, but I don't like what Wix stands for, so, you know. Sometimes I'm streaming on TikTok as well, and every live I get a brand disclosure restriction, like every single time. So I think this time is because I said Shopify and Squarespace. So let's remember that for next time. Just because they're very they're a little bit of a Zionist company, and I don't want to support that. So that's kind of why. I don't support what their country is doing, and I don't want to give them my money, basically. So, but yeah, you know, not to get political. Just what their country is doing to the world, the rest of the world, and Palestinians. So that's why I don't agree with that. Okay, so that's sort of what we're going on with the leg. So that's one leg. Thanks for all the likes. Okay, next one. So again, don't have much space on this desk, which is a little hard sometimes. Okay, yeah. Oh, no, that's fine. I literally get it every time. So I was just waiting for how long it was going to take. All right, so this is the next one. And let's pin. It's not you, it's me. That's fine. Gives me something to talk about. Sometimes I get go this way actually. Sometimes I run out of things to talk about, so I don't mind the questions. All right. Looks like he's doing some kind of yoga pose. All right, I'm going to pin this here. And I'm just going to trim this a little bit. We don't want too much excess fur here because it makes it a bit bulky when I sew it up. So I don't want to waste this actually. Just to mangle it again, that's fine. I try to maximize as much, you know, as little wastage on the faux fur as possible. So sometimes I just have to undo it and pin it again. All right. Yeah, you can absolutely. Instagram's I don't know if they've changed like the algorithm, but something's changed on there because they're feeding my posts out a little bit to new people, but yeah, something's changed on there. I don't know what's happened with that, or maybe it's just like my weird pooping cat thing. Okay, let's trim. Pooping cat scenario. I don't know, but it feels like the algorithm's changed a little bit. You got no views? Okay, so that was me. I got like 23.5K followers and like no views. So, but recently like something's changed on there. So I don't know all. All right, this is going to look weird. and kind of grotesque, but we need to chop. We need to trim. We need to trim around. So this is why the armature gets mangled, because we got to do poses like this. Like calisthenics or something. Okay, we made it. All right, so now I can start sort of just refining this a bit more, making it a bit more acceptable looking. All right, so I'll trim this excess off here. So there's a lot of like, back and forth with trimming. They won't let you send pictures? Oh, that's weird. Maybe I have to like accept it or something. Actually, I'll put this back in the bag. It's slightly different from the fur that I'm using for the female lion. All right, so I'm just going to unpin this again and just tighten this a little bit. So there's a bit of back and forth to tighten things and just trim the excess off. But that's the I guess reality of doing it this way. All right, so trying to just stretch it out, and I'm going to pin it about here so it all stays in place. So this will attach to here, here, and here. So it looks like I can just trim this a little bit. So we don't want too much of that fur going, because it makes like this little bit here way too bulky. All right. So that's basically the setup for one. What's your favorite and least favorite? My least favorite is sewing. I hate it. I'm not a fan of hand sewing. It drives me nuts, and it takes so long. But I like sculpting. It's probably my most favorite part. But you'd probably think, why don't you just do sculptures then? But I like the posability of art dolls like this. So my TikTok live is fluctuating like so much today. It's like lots of viewers and then not so much, and then lots of viewers and then not so much. Anyway. All right, just trim that excess off. And I'm just going to repin this as well, if I can find the end. Ouch. There's a secret pin here. Secret pin. Okay. Now. Have you ever made a animal sculpture out of scrap fabric? Kind of. I've used like offcuts for like maybe sections. If I do I used to do a lot of fantasy things when I first started, so I could chop and change. But these days I'm doing a lot more realistic things, so I use a lot of white. But generally I try not to use smaller scrap pieces. It just makes the job a lot more time consuming. This way. yeah, it just makes the job a bit more time consuming, and it sort of starts looking a bit messy. It just takes forever. What size does the chameleon have? So the smaller one, so this size. So I like making smaller dolls. So yeah, I generally use that size a lot more than the rest of it. The big size, not really, unless I'm doing like a really big doll. So I did a Demiguise commission, like 3 of them. And yeah, they customer wanted, like, all 3 of them wanted it to be really big. So that's what they got. All right. So, okay. Now the lions don't have very big. I guess you could call it knees. I think it's 1/8. I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 1/8. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's 1/8. Imaginary friend. I made like a couple of wolves out of, like, I guess you could call them scrap bits, but like just small little bits. Okay, I think we're good with this. So that'll stretch a little bit. Might just pin this while I can. You assume the smaller size, the cheaper it is. Yeah. The armature? Yeah. You just get the hang of it once you've done a few. Okay, so they're the 2. Probably trim this when I was trimming out. All right, so next side. See how mangled it is? Okay. Next side we've got going down this way. Just going to do this. Pin that. Okay. So I want the seam line to go at the back of the leg as well. Okay. And then weird angles here. Tail in the way. All right, so start trimming that. All right, pin this together. Okay. your sizes of the art dolls? I always thought you would make a normal size. It's just, I basically sort of gauge it by how much weight it needs to take. So the head, how big the head's going to be. So because I've made these ones quite small, I could use a smaller one. And basically how big like the leg's going to be. Sometimes I do a combo of the two bigger sizes, just depending on, you know, you can get a joint that changes the middle size, no, the big size to the middle size. So you could do like the torso part in the big size and then the arms in the smaller middle size. But yeah, I sort of just judge it based on how much weight it's going to take. If that makes sense. You're making... how do you... Yeah, so it's just like the more you make, the better you know, get the hang of it. So when it's just a skeleton, it might seem that it's not sturdy enough, but once you add like the polyfill and sew it all up, it becomes sturdier. Especially when you like, you know, tighten it a lot, it becomes a lot sturdier. But yeah, something like this is probably borderline. It's probably borderline this, but not, that's kind of a little bit too overkill, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's just sort of dependent on the weight, but you'll gauge once you make a few. You're making a jackalope. Yes, you should. The 1/8 would be too small for that. The size of, like, is it a little rabbit or a big rabbit? You can get lots of different sized rabbits. All right, just trim that off. Okay. Now, back to my mangled armature piece. All right, I'm going to pin that. An average size rabbit. Look, I'd probably go 1/4. I kind of get, because they've got like a really large head as well, I think 1/8, the small size, is going to be too small. Yeah, it's basically by weight. So sometimes, you know, a bigger head might need more support. So yeah. Hey YouTube, I mean TikTok, whatever the hell we're doing. All right. We're in the fluctuating stage of TikTok. Okay, I'm just going to trim off this excess here. I've got one more. It's not cut. All right. So there is like a lot of wastage as well. I try to reuse as much as I can, but I think that's good. Straighten it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, one more leg. And faux gets everywhere as well. It's everywhere. It's out of control. I find just a forewarning. I find it everywhere. All right, so we got just this arm here, leg, whatever you want to call it. Down, go this way. About there. So I want to cut it about here. Pin. How do you know where to cut the fabric? Yeah, I just kind of just wrap it around and go from there. Most of my process is just winging it. It's just literally winging it. So generally I pin it together and just follow like where I've pinned it. I do give a little bit of leeway, just so, you know, if I make a mistake, I can just, you know, there's a little bit more there that I can add. But not too much, because you don't want to waste that much fabric. Okay, so see how I've pinned it like that? And then I can just sort of follow along. And when I'm cutting, I'm trying to cut just the backing. And I like to use smaller scissors for that. I feel like the blades can get, you know, in between a bit better. Okay. All right. And the tail piece is like the last piece that I do. So I generally do it like later on. Not too phased about doing it like right now. So that'll be the last bit that I sew together. Okay. All right. Let's pull that up. Make sure we're covering everything. You can't wait to get back to yours. It's way too late. Oh, thank you. Do you do the ladder stitch when? Yeah, so I did a ladder stitch all around. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to trim a little bit off. So I'm just going to repin this. It's a bit tighter. He's wearing a shirt. So basically, like, you know, little bits like this you can't really reuse. It's just kind of a write-off, but no. There's just a lot of offcuts when it comes to these. I didn't cut too much off there. That should be good. Okay. All right, that should be good to go. Yeah, I saved the bigger bits. And then I can put it on the head. You just got to sort of be careful when you do these because of the weaponage that you got here. Let me lift this up a little bit, you can see. All right, so that's basically ready to sew. I still reckon I need more stuffing. More stuffing in there. This, don't need this just yet. Okay, just add a little more in here. So I reckon the mane will probably come up to here, so I won't worry too much about that. It's just the this torso piece. Should I add balls to it? What do we think? Yeah, do we add balls? Is that wrong? It's a male lion, yeah? I feel like he needs a manhood. Yeah, so flocking is like basically it's the process of covering this in the fur. But yeah, all right. So that can be sewn up, I think. It's going to look a bit weird at the moment because it's all sort of all over the place, mangled, until I, sew it all up and, make it take shape. So I think it's looking okay. I don't know if it needs to be lower. Thanks for the likes. So yeah, once you get to the mane, it'll be all handy dandy. Balls. I'll think about it. I might. It is a male lion. Okay, so that one's going to be fine. Now the leopard seal. Leopard seal with the movable jaw. This one's giving me a little bit of grief, but we'll see how it goes. I have to have a play around with it once I, sew everything up. Not 100% happy with it. So I've got the flippers. I can't quite, because it's a small doll. I think what's happening, I don't know if this is pulling too much. I'm not exactly sure what's pulling. I don't know if I have to pull this down a little bit. True, a male lion can't. That's true. Okay, so we've got our flippers. So I've sewn these up on the sewing machine. I've basically done like a really quick pattern and sewn it up in the sewing machine. This will involve some hand sewing too. But, so we've got sort of the seam line here. I'm going to use a different pair of scissors actually. And just sort of trim off this excess here. So I need to sew in like the toes. So I'm just going to cut in some, they're called darts. And it just sort of, let's cut this off actually. It sort of releases the tension a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so this is my second leopard seal. The other one was much bigger. Same deal, movable jaw. So this is a commission piece for someone, which they wanted a smaller version. So I'm just flipping the thin inside out, and that way I can basically insert it and then add some just like a little bit of polyfill, but they've got like five toes or something. So that's sort of what we've got. And then you basically just slip it on, and I'm going to pin it. So you want it to be flat. So I'm going to pin this on here. And I add a tiny bit. Was it hard to make the jaw move? I have a tutorial in my shop, which is a video tutorial. I tried to make like those types of tutorials kind of cheap-ish, if that makes sense. But yeah, I basically use a joint. I don't know if you can see. But basically just use a joint on there, and then it makes it movable. There's different ways of doing it. I would like to experiment with different ways, but this one works okay for the time being. But yeah, you know, I think a lot of other things that I've seen are 3D printed as well, or they sort of work like an action figure head, which I feel can only be achieved in like such a tiny space through 3D printing. So I don't really want to go down the 3D printing route. It's not something I'm that interested in, if that makes sense. All right, so let's cover that. I still want this to be semi-flat, and I'm going to have to sew in all of the toes, basically. So I think there's like 5 of them. So I'll get this sewn up and do that at a different stage. What I'm going to do is I want it to flatten out as much as possible. You've made 3D printed jaws, but not that hold in place. It's pretty smooth, actually. Oh, yeah, okay. If that's something that you want to get into, then by all means. So I'm trying to make it sort of as tight as possible. It's like a booby trap here. With the pins, booby trap. This is all twisted now. So it's just a really light layer of stuffing because, yeah, I'm going to be doing the fingers, toes, whatever you want to call them. What do you call them on flippers? Finger toes, toe fingers. I think this might just be a little bit too thick, to be honest. Problem with this smaller version as well is because all the weight's at the front, and it sort of bunches here a little bit, which is a bit annoying. Don't know if this is pulling. reduce that tension a little bit. Not mangle it. Okay. Next piece. Gets in your mouth. No problem. Other side of the planet. I get you. Oh, I missed this bit. Sorry. Catch you later. Thanks for stopping in. Have you thought of making flippers with silicone? Yeah, I have, but I hate silicone, basically. So I try to find like alternative things that I don't have to use silicone. It's really expensive and it's really messy. So I used to do resin casts of the heads that I would, cast and then make like multiple different dolls out of. But it's just the silicon's just so expensive. The resin's expensive too, but the silicon's just off the planet expensive. So yeah, I sort of moved away from doing that. Just gonna have to sew this bit up by hand, unfortunately. I mean, I can do it on the sewing machine, but maybe not on the live. Have to set it up and everything. But yeah, I've played around with latex and all that sort of thing, but it's just not my thing. Latex is really smelly as well. You gotta have like a mask and everything on. But yeah, to get like I used to get a 10 litre? 10 litre. 5 or 10 litre, I can't remember. Could have been 7. I don't know. It was like almost $300 back then, so I can only assume it's more expensive now, but yeah. So I sort of moved away from doing a lot of resin things. But maybe again in the future, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Plus I like sculpting. I like making more one of a kind type things. I can sculpt a different expression into the head. I mean, been enjoying sculpting the finer details inside mouths and stuff. So, I think there's like good or bad with different things. I'm just doing a running stitch here just to sew this little bit up that I clearly missed on the sewing machine. And then like with when you do like silicone, when you cast silicone inside a silicone mold, you have to use a release agent, which is like a spray, and it's not particularly the nicest of sprays. It's super toxic, so I didn't really want to go. So I've been avoiding it so much. So yeah, that's a few reasons why. So I've been doing a lot of like alternative things. I could probably use a couple of different methods with like UV resins, which only like small bits. And I also got some, funnily enough, It's acrylic nail stuff, and I think that might be a really good idea to make, little bits and pieces out of that acrylic stuff, whatever it is. It's acrylic. It's just acrylic powder that you can, make things out of. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting with that. I think there's a lot of options, especially when it comes to like things that are fragile, like nails and stuff. But yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's way better. Less expensive. Less expensive. Okay. Sometimes I forget that I'm actually recording. It's probably like a whole lot of useless footage. All right. So just run down the edges. Got another flipper. Right. So there's lots of random threads everywhere. A little bit of polyfill. Hey, Cosmic. How are you? Okay. Try to make this as flat as possible. A wee bit more. Just in this little bit here. Okay. Let's flatten. Thing. There's the booby traps again. Maybe put it on this side. So we want to match up, both sides to make sure they're matching. Another booby trap. All right. Thank you. I'm still not happy with the head. So something that's pulling it down and I can't work it out. I honestly think it just needs some weight at the back here. And it's just like it's a small doll, and we can't quite get this here. That looks better. Oh well, it's just all practice, isn't it? Work it out. So I got the flippers. Here's the other one. Right away. You're officially 13. Congratulations. Happy birthday. Do you think dolls would be good for light play? Yeah, I think so. They're pretty durable. I would say they're pretty durable. Just like gentle play. Are you doing anything for your birthday? Okay. Or did you? Did you do anything? See, I don't know if these are too small. I think they might be, and I knew it as I made it too. They might not be actually. Might be okay. Actually. Should that back in there. So for the leopard seals, their tails go like sideways flippers. Something like that. I'm going to have the main bit go in this top section here, and then I'm going to pin this. And then they'll be sewn together, these two. Well, as emotional support dolls, yeah. It's mainly people that have lost pets, or if they had quite a few people that were kind of, I guess they said they were on the spectrum, and they found the dolls comforting. So I've had a fair few of those. But yeah, they just, like collecting that stuff, and that's fine. But yeah, a lot of people that wanted like their pet, so they could have like a physical thing. Get all sorts of different types of people doing these. Okay. Some people very demanding. Okay, so that'd be sewn together like that. Basically, sorry, the tail piece here, which I'll have to sew in the toes individually once that's all sewn up. Now, add a teensy amount. So it's not so flat. Yeah. Yeah, I've made a lot of different people's pets. A lot of ferrets and rats. People are really into them. And I don't think they live very long either. So, yeah, people get like their rats and stuff. Lots of them. All right. So, what can we do? Just pull some of this out, see if it makes a difference. This. We'll get there. I'll work it out. Are there any animals you get uncomfortable around? No, not really. Nah. I don't like venomous snakes, but that's just sort of a given, isn't it? I mean, I look at them, but I'd be like, well. Honestly, I think there was just too much in here. It's a tarantula. Oh. A stubby feet. Okay. That's better. I think there was just too much in there. We fixed it. We fixed it. Okay, so it was just too much. It was too tight. Ah, yay. There you go. Fixed it. Okay. Alright, let's try to a little bit of sewing. So take these booby traps out. Hey, magpie. Like how they walk so slow. They're pretty cool. I haven't actually made a spider, but I've been considering a tarantula. I don't mind them. They're okay. I would hold one. Put it that way. Given the chance. Alright, so up there. I wouldn't hold like a funnel whip or something, or something that's dangerous. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of pigeons just because they're germy, but I mean, they're fine. I'm not scared of them. There's not really any animal I'm scared of. There's like venomous snakes. Being in Australia, got plenty of those. Not insufficient. That's okay. I'm going to have to hop off soon anyway. Oh, nice one. That's good. Thanks for the shout out. Okay, now because this is minky fabric, I'm going to have to do the stitches quite small. So it hides the seams a bit better. With faux fur, you can sort of get away with doing bigger stitches, but because this is minky and there's not a lot of pile to cover it, we do little stitches, which takes longer but better. So I basically start from where the last stitches ended. That makes sense. If you do big stitches as well, it tends to pucker the material. So I do little stitches. Yeah, it's still a ladder stitch, but I basically start the stitch from where the last stitch ended, if that makes sense. So they're just like really tiny stitches. And it makes the seam line a bit neater. But generally when you do, like, I can show you and just undo it. So if you do a big stitch, it sort of pulls it a little bit. So you see it's making like a pucker there. So it pulls it and makes the pucker. So we don't want that. So if you do little stitches, it tends not to pull it. It pulls it sort of flat. There's not a lot of room to pull it in a different direction. Yeah, that's right. So you can sort of get away with that with the faux fur fabric because obviously the pile covers it and it's a lot thicker. So it doesn't sort of pucker as much. But yeah, fabrics like this and like just like a plain cotton fabric, it tends to really easily pucker. And then like the stitch will generally be open as well. So smaller is better. Just more time consuming. Yep. So I'm going to try and sort of get this stitch to sort of lay flat here. So you can sort of fix a couple of things with the sewing as well. So I'm trying just sort of hide this little puckering a little bit as well. Not a fantastic seamstress either, so just FYI. It's just like little bits and pieces that I've learnt along the way. So you see how it makes it a bit smoother? So I'm sort of trying to pick up this excess and redistribute it. That makes sense. I should be recording some of this. Trying to sort of stretch out this as much as possible. So once you've done like a little bit of stitching, the fabric just sort of naturally sits where it wants to. And I just generally follow that. So it naturally sort of sits. You can sort of follow this little line where it's naturally sitting. And it starts to sort of like naturally curl as well. So that's after you've stitched a little bit, but yeah. Okay. This bit here, start to sort of stitch it closed a little bit. And just like these tension points, I like to sort of tie it off a little bit. So there's just a little bit more support around these tension areas. No, lost my thread. Oh look, I poked myself, didn't even know. Okay. So I want to try and neatly hide this little bit here. Neatly sew it. See, and it sort of hides that. Don't poke yourself too much. Try not to. Sometimes it just happens. Okay. Don't think I'll add any more polyfill. Maybe just to the edge here. But it'll sort of distribute itself once I sew in like these little fingers. All right, so just start sewing in this little seam line. And just trying to follow the natural sort of placement it's sitting. Yeah, I know. You get the hang of it. It's the worst when it goes under your nail, especially when you got like short nails, like this one that broke. That's the worst. You start to get the hang of it. So, okay, so you see how it's like naturally sitting where it wants to sit? You just sort of start following it a little bit. Yeah, it sort of at the stage where it doesn't look anything like it's supposed to, but it comes together really quickly once the body's sewn and I add the color. It starts to come together really quickly. I mean, when I add the fabric to the face, this one's a little bit different, but when I add the fur to the face, it sort of looks very weird and not at all what it's supposed to be. Okay, just finish this. And seam lines are inevitable when it comes to this fabric as well. Like, there's nothing you can really do about it. You can just sort of disguise it as best as possible. Get my needle through here. Okay. Let's tie it off. All right. Now to get rid of this thread, I basically just stick it in and feed it through the other side and then cut it off, and then that end falls back into the body. And then we've got a flipper, half done flipper so far. Okay, so I'm going to have to leave that for today. But tomorrow I'll be back to do the rest of the sewing for the leopard seal. So I'll sew in this flipper and the tail flippers, and then maybe start working on the toes and whatnot. Yes, I've very much got to trust the process. Okay, so tomorrow I'll be back about 12:30ish to 2 again. And yeah, I'll try and get as much done on this because it is for a customer, so I want to finish it, basically. So yeah, no problem. Well, I'll see you later, TikTok. And I will catch you later as well on YouTube. Again, I'll be on tomorrow at some point for about an hour and a half or something. All right, I'll catch you later. Bye.